So now that we have the color type, before I turn it in as the color type variation, like this, that looks good, but maybe I want to just tweak its typesetting a little bit. So I wanted to move everything up a little bit. So it's remembering all these components. I'm going to take the things that are turned on, select them by holding down Shift, and then I can just use my Move tool, and I can just shift them up a little. But then I get a tangency on the very top, right? So what can I do? I can look at my close type, and I can see that it's made up of the fill color, and it's made up of the outline. So I can select both of those, and I can hit Command T, and I can just squeeze it a little bit while holding down Shift. So it just shortens it. So this is all typesetting. But when I do that, I'm being really picky here. I get a tangency right there with the U and the top of the spike. So I'd have to push that down quite a bit where that didn't bother me as much. Or I can do this. I can skew it and try to set it off a little bit and then scale it. Oh, it's tough. These little tangencies. So maybe like that. Doesn't bother me as much. Or I have a better option. Keep all of that the same. I just squeezed it a little bit so it's comfortable on the sides, it's comfortable at the bottom. This is why we have control of each thing. Now I can go to my spot illustration, and I can always do this on a duplicate too if I'm unsure. Transform it. I'm just going to play with its rotation a little. And its placement. Yeah, there we go. And now that worked well for the U, but it gave me another tangency with the L. And this is me being really, really picky. But these are the things that matter in design. So I'm going to take these two layers again, and I'm going to try to fix that by stretching it out. So everything kind of occupies its own space in a way that's comfortable. Maybe shrink it down a tiny bit. And because you design this type yourself, or you typeset it yourself, modifying from existing, it should all be readable almost no matter what you do. Now what you will notice is you're not able to warp or distort from vector assets or from multiple assets. And that's okay. You can do plenty else. But you see why I don't want to do that where it points right to the middle of the U. I need to have it offset a little bit, and that's okay. All right, so now I like that placement. So how do I do the next requirement? I'm going to turn off the background. And I'm going to turn off the spot illustration. And this is my black type. What's one thing I forgot to do? This is why it's important to check it. What's the difference between the top and the bottom? Show me your eye training, guys. What feature do I have on the top that I don't have on the bottom word?
Oh, the sparkly shadow.
Yeah, it's the drop shadow. So you can see them all listed here. I have a drop shadow there. I do not have a drop shadow here or here. So what could I do? I can right click here, copy this layer style, and then paste it. Whoops. Not multiples, sorry. Copy this layer style. And then I can right click here and paste it onto here. And that will give it to me both places. Doesn't mean I want it both places necessarily, but by having a layer style, it's always nice to have the option. So now let's see the background. And I can also vary it, right? Like I can just take the drop shadow from this one. I can turn off use global light, and I can change the angle of it. so the drop shadow is in a different place. And I'm going to make the drop shadow a lot fainter too. A lot more subtle on the bottom. Or maybe just less saturated. And maybe bigger, so it softens out. Yeah, I like that better than I like it there. And you can have different approaches, top to bottom. So now if I turn this off, how does that look? Yeah, it looks okay. Or I can just turn them off. So I probably will do at this point. Okay, so this is my color type on the format. So I say File, Save a Copy to the desktop. This is my color type. I've already saved my black type, and I save it as a JPEG, online format. Here it is. Mark it orange. So this was my black type here. I'm getting my requirements together. Mark that orange. And now let's post it to Canvas. Remember, you got to acknowledge the deadline at least by posting something by 11:59 tonight. Text blocking is a great way to acknowledge. So now here is my color vector. Color variation of vector typesetting. You just want it to get stronger and stronger. And again, if you ever forget or are confused about what is required for the assignments, you look at the assignment and the examples given. And so far, I have requirement 1, the black vector type. I have requirement 2, the color variation. You can see the gradient in there. You can see the texture. You don't see the white offset, but you'll see it when I have a background behind it. And then what's the last thing I need? I just need the finished poster. So I go to Photoshop, same file, same master, but not that Photoshop, this Photoshop. Okay, and now I turn everything on. I turn on my background. I turn on my spot illustration. I check for tangencies and overlaps. And with the spot illustration, even as a spot illustration, I can transform it and I can do things like distort it and kind of stretch it at the top to help with these tangencies too. I just can't always do that with multiple layers of type. So that's even stronger. Maybe right there. But I don't want to distort it too much. See if I like that better or that. Yeah, I think I like that better. Okay, so this I can save as a JPEG. Hit Command S, save it as my PSD file. This can be my finished poster. Nothing wrong with this. It's 16 by 20. It's 350 pixels per inch. It's got vector type. It's got a spot illustration. So save a copy. And then I'll say full poster to the desktop as a JPEG because we're filling the whole rectangle. And that's with a background that I created, right? Just with the same way I colored the type, with layer styles. But you can also composite your background, because sometimes it's really nice to have a textured background. So how might I do that? Well, I can go to Google and I can search for vintage ripped posters. This is what I used for the other class and I liked them. And I can find a few. I'm searching large images. Especially, I like to find just regular paper texture. Maybe even this grungy one, since it's a going for kind of a vintage look. And then I download these. So I'm just going to save these images right to the desktop. They're not huge, but they're over 1,000 pixels in at least one dimension. But that's okay for background textures because they're all going to get blended. But I am still searching for large assets. So maybe what's another one? Let's see. I mean, some of these are just going to be really distracting. But maybe this one. No, I think I used that one already. Well, let's play with the ones we had. And I'll show you how you can composite with them. So now I go back to my background layer, which is right here. And I'm going to build on top of it. I can lock it. I know it works. But can I add more to it? So let's bring on the paper texture. I drag and drop it in. I place it. I want to make sure it goes all the way through, right? And you can see how versatile the type is with the spot illustration. It works on any background. And then I can play with blending modes. So maybe I use pin light to bring that texture, and then I can play with the coloring, right? And it brings some of that varied paper texture onto that background I made. That's one option, right? Let's try another one. But this one, a little bit more interesting looking. Spread, make it fill. I can stretch it. Something like that. I still have them just as smart objects, right? I've got that big torn piece right there. And now I can play with blending modes. Like pin light again. And I can play with the opacity. And you can see how I get those little highlights, that kind of wrinkling and warping. I might even play with putting that over the top of everything, right? Or maybe not on top of my spot illustration, but on top of my text. And maybe I like that. All right, let's get a little bit crazier. Let's see if I can find a Muppet-themed background. So a Muppet poster background. Okay, so maybe brick wall. That's pretty big. I'm going to save that. This is from the Sesame Street set. I'm going to grab that photo, bring it in. Haha. Stretch it really big to fit within my borders. Cookie Monster's at the top there. Need a little more. Okay, like that. Go ahead and put this down below my type, right, on top of the other backgrounds. And I can play with blending modes. It'd be really dramatic if I do something like this, right, where the white's coming through all of them. But maybe I change the color. So I'm going to rasterize it. And I'm going to play with direct adjustments, hue saturation, to play with the color of these bricks. see what kind of comes through.